I threaten my employees with having to call Airbnb customer service if they mess up. This threat is so successful that I use it with myself, and there's very few mistakes made because we'd honestly rather run through downtown naked during rush hour than have to deal with Airbnb's customer service department. Dealing with Airbnb's customer service department could actually be training for other customer service positions because of the amount of patience that is needed to complete that task successfully. I've been involved with tens of thousands of Airbnb reservations as both a host and a guest. I've managed everything from cookie cutter shared bedrooms to hillside mansions. I'm Airbnb's #1 guest in the entire world, probably approaching 3,000 nights. I've worked at Airbnb, I've worked with Airbnb, and there's one thing that really annoys me about the company, and it's something that annoys me about a lot of tech companies, and it is their customer service department. It's something that they've decided not to focus on in terms of cost cutting and net profit maximization. In fact, I think it's even a competitive advantage because of how few companies have decided to pay attention to their customer service department. I think they look at it as just a cost center. I want to share 2 stories with you in my experience dealing with Airbnb customer service over the past 30 days. I have a few stories I could share with you. I'm choosing these 2. If you're an Airbnb host, you can probably relate. I hope to be your voice. If you're a potential Airbnb host, consider this a free trial of what's to come ahead. Now, this is the negative aspect. Of course, there's a lot of positive aspects. And before I get into the story, I want to address, well, why am I even making this video? Am I just complaining? Am I just trying to vent? And while sometimes I do have that simple motivation, this is not it. The reason why I'm sharing this video is so that Airbnb can improve. It's known within the host community. You know this if you're already a host. I want them to improve also for me as a guest, for us hosts and us guests. And the thing is, it's not like this is hard to do. In my opinion, there's a direct path to improving the host and the guest experience via the customer service department. So as I go through these stories, I'll call out some areas where I think there's easy improvements if they're not already pretty obvious anyways. So let's jump into the first story. It was a 4-night reservation that I got at the Airbnb I'm actually sitting in right now. I'm still getting it ready. I got a good reservation. I decided, all right, I'm going to accept this and I'm going to go take a vacation to the coast of Colombia. Now, before they booked, they said they thought that I raised the price. You raised the price from $875 to $917. Now, I was in fact actually at this moment when I got this reservation recording my screen for some short form content on my social media channels. And so I had recorded the actual price. And so I told them this, but so the reservation is kind of starting iffy anyways. The guest decides to book because they thought, hey, you can charge whatever you want. If we still want to book, we still want to book. So they booked. Then they add a 4th guest. Now I have a 3-bedroom. I charge when there's 2 people in the same bed. They wanted but they asked for a blow-up mattress, and I said, yes, sure, we can have a blow-up mattress. And then I said, just be sure to update from 3 to 4 guests. And so when they did that, they realized they didn't want to pay for an extra guest. I said, well, I actually charge for an extra, I charge for the 4th guest. They didn't want to pay. So now I'm like, oh gosh. So they think I'm ripping them off at the beginning. This is from my host perspective. Now they think I'm ripping them off a second time. Now I'm like, no, I'm going to get a negative review. As host, we would rather not have a reservation, even though I know I provide good service. I provide great service. Even though I know that I have my chance of getting a negative review for this specific reservation is higher because of something I have no control over. The guest doesn't know how the platform works. And as we'll see in my second example, when us as hosts have to get into explaining to the guest how the platform works, in my experience, that never works. Never works. But you have to. You can't ignore them. It's just a terrible situation to be in. All right, so we're going back and forth, and I'm just being honest with the guests. I'm saying, hey, I think we should just cancel reservations and go our separate ways because I understand that you think I'm ripping you off, and I don't want a negative review. I think I actually say that. Yeah, I say that here. Hey, I'll just call Airbnb, cancel, we'll go separate ways. Now we're coming to the part which is really frustrating, which is when now not only do I have to explain how the platform works to the guest, but I also have to explain how the platform works to Airbnb. Now my listing has a $25 extra guest fee after the 3rd guest. I have that. I showed Airbnb a screenshot. Now they reached out to me and they said, your listing indicates there are no additional fees for extra guests. There is. That's false. skip this part. Know the platform. Now, I sent that at 10:30 at night. You can assume I'm going to bed at some point. Now, I get a bunch of messages at 1:04 a.m. That's local time. Airbnb knows where this listing is. Let's just assume the host is where the listing is. So they go ahead and they message me, and they ended up canceling the reservation, which is fine, which is what I wanted, because I wanted to avoid a negative review. But here, Airbnb, second point, don't try and converse with me when I'm sleeping. That's not a wise thing to do, because I can't respond. Then the area support says, hey, to avoid situations like this in the future, update your listing description. No, I'm not going to put in my listing description what doesn't belong in the listing description. I don't put that I charge at the fourth guest $25 in my listing description. No, that's not how it works. Don't ask me to do that. All right, and then the last thing before we move on to the next story is, hey, I asked them, I'm like, hey, I know that I can cancel as a host without it affecting my listing. Now, I've had experience with canceling very few times, because you really want to avoid this as a host. Airbnb, another point of suggestion, don't make it such a big deal to cancel on your guests. Us hosts, we know best, especially if we're hosts of a decade and thousands and thousands and thousands of reservations. Now, I'm asking them, I'm like, hey, because the information isn't clear on when it affects you and when it doesn't affect you, is the cancellation going to affect my host account in any way? Notice how I phrased that question. Yes. I'm like, oh, man, I can guarantee that you canceling reservation, your hosting says won't be affected. Oh, okay. So there's an issue with, I think, English fluency. Sometimes the Airbnb representatives who don't work for Airbnb English isn't their first language. So that's a reason for a lot of this like miscommunication and disconnection. So, okay, so they're saying yes, but they're saying it's not going to affect my hosting status. Now, the last thing is that sometimes they ask to call you, the representatives, which is okay, I'm open for a call, but Airbnb, give me a number to call them at, because I'm international right now and calls don't really come through. Each of your representatives should have a specific number that I can call them. They can only call me right now. It doesn't work. Now, they sent me an article here, so they're explaining to me more about the cancellation rate, and they say, here's the helpful link about that. So I click that link and I read it. I'm like, well, there's nothing about what you said in here. So I message them a few days later and I say, hey, I'm sorry to reopen this, but what you sent me, there's only a single sentence on cancellation rate, and it's kind of generic. I would like to know more. So they kind of ignored that. Let's move on to the second issue in the past 30 days. Now, if you're an Airbnb host watching this, I encourage you to post a similar story that you have, or anything that you agree with what I'm saying, in the comments. The idea is that Airbnb, their employees, they do watch my videos. And so if this video gets good amount of views and a good amount of comments, they do take action from my video. So please do get the ball rolling here. Help me out. Now, second story, a guest books and at a different listing a weekend, and they say they're going to have after they book and confirm the reservation, they say, hey, I'm going to have my birthday party here. Can I have 12 guests on Friday? And I say, yes, you can. It will come with an extra cost because my maximum would be 8 guests. So anything above that has extra. And they say, oh, we don't want to pay for extra. And it's like, I've got to explain the platform to them. Again, that's not how it works. You can't just book for 4 and bring 12 people. So, but I already know, I've been through this numerous times over years. Like, it never works explaining this to the guests, but they already booked. So I kind of have to book for them. I have to explain to them. Now, on top of that, they got my weekend, my Friday and Saturday, at $375 a night, which is extra frustrating for me as a host, because that rate usually is $500. So that guest, but I can't tell them that, and they don't know that they have a 20% discount on this weekend, nor can I tell them that. So I'm like, it's not even worth my time, but because they're already a booked guest, you kind of have to waste your time kind of explaining the platform to them. So then we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And this is actually when I'm on trying to enjoy my little vacation in the Colombian coast for that other reservation that didn't end up happening anyways. And so we're going back and forth. And then he's like, well, how many can I have? I say 8. And he's like, okay, well, I'll have 8. And I'm like, really? I was like, well, how long are they going to be in the house for? And he's like, well, how long can they be in the house for? And I'm like, 2 hours. And then he's like, yeah, they'll be in the house for 2 hours and no more. And I'm like, man, I don't know how big of a party he have. Obviously, he's just answering my questions to appease me, and then he knows once he's there, all is good. So I really feel like my hands are like tied, because I'm like, again, I know I can't cancel. Now this is the second cancel in 1 month that I'm going to have to do, but I would rather cancel because I just rather avoid a headache. I would rather avoid a negative review, and I would rather avoid a headache than take a reservation, especially a reservation at 30% discount. They upped it the reservation to have 5 guests, and I pay for 5 guests. So I accept that. But their payment doesn't go through. Airbnb, point of suggestion here. That happens pretty often when a guest tries to book, my calendar is blocked, but their payment doesn't go through. Calendar is blocked for 24 hours, I think, and then you release it. In this case, the guest added a 5th guest, but I think because this guest was up to no good, they knew what they were doing, so maybe, I don't know what they did with their payment method, but they added a 5th guest, I accepted, and then I get a notification from Airbnb, as all of us hosts have, hey, we couldn't collect payment, but responsibility is totally on you as the host. And it's like, well, what do I do? You can, because we didn't collect payment, you can cancel without penalty. Now I think also I'm going to get a negative review because they think I'm trying to rip them off, even though I'm charging them extra, which is very common practice. Also, I don't know how big of a party they're going to have. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know if they're like mad at me now, so they're going to like sabotage my house and break some stuff. And you just want to avoid that. So I'm like, great, I have an out. I can cancel without penalty. So I click that link, Airbnb, point of suggestion here. After I click that link and you specifically say you can cancel without penalty, there is no option to cancel without penalty. So you know my situation, my place isn't available, doesn't apply. I'm looking for a different price or trip, it doesn't apply. I'm worried the guests will have an authorized party. Okay, that's it, bing, bing, bing. But wait, okay, so far so good. The guest has indicated they're gonna have a party, but then it's like, oh wait, by the way, this was like a Wednesday and his reservation was for that Friday, so like I didn't have much time. So, okay, you need 1 to 3 days to review, and you're gonna block my calendar in the meantime? I'd like to get the weekend booked, and you just told me I can cancel without penalty, but it's clearly there's no extra thing here for you, for that link, for that specific email. For that specific email, if I can cancel without penalty, you cancel, there's nothing to review because you offered me that, the guest isn't paying for their extra guest. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. So how it should be is the dates should not be blocked while you review. The dates should be open while you review. In this specific case where the guest, you have given me the option, cancel without penalty. Okay. All right, so now let's move over to dealing with the guest. Let's move over to dealing with Airbnb support, which again is no fun. So I reached out to Airbnb support this time. Last time they reached out to me and I explained the situation. They want to have a party with 12 guests. They said that in the reservation. So I reach out to Airbnb support in this case. I explained to them what's going on, that I want to cancel, but I want to make sure that I don't get hurt as a super host. I also let them know that the current process has the calendar blocked for 1 to 3 days, but the reservation is in 2 days, everything that this is probably pretty common on your platform that hosts are not in the same location as we're there or they're traveling. So this is where it gets really, really frustrating for us hosts. So the guest has not checked in yet. And if you have evidence that you can submit to us, if there is any during the stay or anything, so we'll take actions as per the policy. It's like, what? So you want me to wait until there's a problem to report it? No. So then I'm explaining to them how the platform works. In this case, Airbnb says I can cancel without penalty because they're going to break my house rules. The rep says, which again, tremendously, if you want to cancel a reservation on your end, there will be charges applied. It's like, no, but there shouldn't be from your company communication. And then they say they're like calling me. But I'm like, again, I'm international. I don't receive. I already told you that. Then they say, if you cancel the reservation, there will be charges applied. Okay. He just copy and pasted the message. So now I send a message from a screenshot showing, hey, this is an email from Airbnb. So again, the point is Airbnb is offering me cancel without penalty. And I'm trying to explain that to them. And then they're saying like, all right, let us know if the guest agrees for a refund, then we can contact them. I'm repeating myself in this video for a reason. This is what I'm doing with the thread. I keep going back and forth like hitting a wall. Okay, but we're missing each other here. But I'm referring to the communication by Airbnb, official of the company. And then right in the middle of this situation, hey, just so no, my shift is ending. I'll be back tomorrow. It's like, well, it's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. I want to cancel this reservation. So I'm like still trying to go at it. They say the same thing. My shift is about to end. So that's 2 people's shifts about to end. This was at 9:08 p.m. the next morning at 6:43 p.m. So within 10 hours, 2 shifts are ending. Again, if you want to cancel, there will be cancellation fee and other consequences. It's like, no, but no. Please confirm if I should cancel this reservation. I was like, no. I have had better luck calling Airbnb if and only if I get someone who works for Airbnb Incorporated. And the way you can know that is if they have an American accent, and English is their native language, that means they work for the company. And if they work for the company, they're more likely to know how the platform works, and they have more ability to make more decisions. A call center employee, typically they're not located in America. English is not their first language, and they have less ability to do things in your account. They're going to have to reach up to higher ups to get certain things approved. And I think how it works in call centers, if the more you're bugging your boss above, the worse job you're doing. So they're making more decisions in the area that they can make, which is oftentimes which leads to frustration for us, which in this case, dealing with email support, they're telling me that I'm going to have consequences and cancellation fees, when in fact that's not how the platform works. And I'm even showing evidence, screenshots from the email I got from Airbnb, and in light of that, they're still saying the same things. Okay, so I know we would rather not pick up the phone, but I will give Airbnb credit on this. The wait times, at least for the Superhost, we have our own number. It is not long. It is not long at all. I'm actually super impressed by the wait time of Airbnb's customer service when you call. Wrapping up here, again, I want to highlight, why did I do this video? Well, ultimately, I want, and I think you want as hosts, and if there happens to be guests, same with guests, to Airbnb to be better. And there's a direct path forward. There's a few decisions they can make to improve, I think, objectively the experience for hosts. And so one more thing, I have a video coming up. It's 37 suggestions that I keep track for the past 10 years, since 2015, which is when I think Airbnb had the best website and the best application. Has kind of went downhill since then. I have 37 improvements that I'm going to be making a video on. This is about the website, about the application, about dealing with customer service, about additional features that we could have in Airbnb that would significantly improve the platform. Now, I made another video like this about 3 years ago. I'm making this other one, and I want you to post in the comments any suggestions that you have for Airbnb. Those that are most upvoted or are just obviously good suggestions, I'm going to include every single one of those in that video. It's going to be a long video. I'm going to timestamp it with which sections you might be interested in. But please post your comments below how you think Airbnb can improve. I will share that with Airbnb via a future video. Hopefully they see it, and hopefully we can get them on the track to improving the platform and taking more of the potential, the giant potential that Airbnb has that is just kind of on the table now to the side. See you soon, Airbnb hosts. Stay strong. You're doing great. Till next time, happy hosting.